Hey everybody, so I hope your weekend was well. I'm doing chapter 2 of Kit's Surprise, and so let's get into it. Chapter 2 is called The Bright Red Dress. That night after the last dinner, wait, hold on, let's start this. Let's remember at the end of Rick-a-Rack, chapter 1, Kate, Kit and Ruthie overhear their parents talking, and Ruthie's dad is letting Kit's parents know that their house is going to be that they're going to be evicted if they don't make their house payment. And Kit gets all upset and runs upstairs and leaves Ruthie downstairs in the hallway. So that's how chapter 1 ended. So let's start with chapter 2, The Bright Red Dress. That night after the last dinner, dish was washed and dried. Mother took off her apron, put on her hat and coat, and went out. She didn't say where she was going, but Kit knew. Mother had a rich old relative named Uncle Hendrick, who lived alone in a big, gloomy house near downtown Cincinnati. Kit knew Mother was going to ask Uncle Hendrick for money so that they wouldn't be evicted from their house. Kit was reading in bed when Mother returned. When she came up to kiss Kit goodnight, Mother's face was tired. Uncle Hendrick said no, didn't he? Said Kit. Mother was surprised. How did... she began. I heard Mr. Smittens talking to you and Dad, Kit said in her straightforward way. I know about us being evicted. I figured you went to Uncle Kendrick to ask for money. And, Kit repeated, he said no, didn't he? I'm sorry, Kit, Mother said sadly. It's not fair for a child to have to worry about these things. She sighed. But you're right. Uncle Hendrick believes that money must be earned by hard work, not given away. He says we've been living beyond our means. He thinks it was foolish of us to buy this big house in the first place, and it would be throwing good money after bad to help us to keep it. If we are evicted, he wants us to move in with him. Kit sat bolt upright. Oh, no, she said. We'd hate that. All the boarders would leave. It'd be awful. Mother smiled a sad smile. We may not have a choice, she said, and we may lose the boarders anyway. At this point, we don't have enough money to pay even the electric bill. I don't think we can ask the boarders to stay if our electricity is cut off, and we don't have any lights. Kit couldn't bear to see Mother look so defeated. I'll find a way to help, Mother, she said. I promise I will. I'll find a way to make money. Well, said Mother, there is a way you can help, though. I don't think it'll make you any money. What is it? Asked Kit. Uncle Hendrick says he's ill, said Mother. I think he's really just lonely and fretful. But he wants me to come back tomorrow and every day until he feels better. I'm so busy here I don't see how I can. Would you do it? You could go tomorrow and then next week. You could go after school. During your Christmas vacation, you could go for a few hours every day. He needs someone to keep him company and do errands and walk his dog. Kit's heart sank. Uncle Hendrick's old black Scotty dog, Inky, was the meanest, most hateful dog in Cincinnati. He was even meaner than Uncle Hendrick. And Uncle Hendrick was exactly like Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, before the ghost visited him and scared him into being nice. I know it's a lot to ask, said Mother, but it would be a great help to me. I'll do it, said Kit. There was her chance to help. Mother hugged Kit. That's my girl, she said. And now her smile was real. Thank you, Uncle Hendrick. Knows we don't have a car anymore. He gave me a nickel for the streetcar. I'll give it to you tomorrow. Now don't read too long. You need to rest. Good night. Good night, said Kit. Mother went downstairs. Kit had read only a few pages when her brother Charlie appeared. Hi, he said. Mother told me what you're doing. I thought you could use this. He tossed an old tennis ball to Kit. What's this for? She asked. It's for Stinky Inky to fetch, said Charlie. Throw it really, really far. Kit grinned. Thanks, Charlie, she said. Charlie grinned too. You're welcome, he said. Good night, Squirt. Night, Charlie, said Kit. She switched off her light and lay in the dark thinking, maybe Uncle Hendrix wouldn't be so bad after all. But it was bad. In fact, it was terrible. The first bad thing that happened was Kit missed a streetcar. She had to run all the way to Uncle Hendric's house because she was supposed to be there promptly at noon, and Uncle Hendrick was a stickler for time. Luckily, Kit was a fast runner, but it was very cold, and Kit's nose was red and her hair was blown every which way by the time she got to Uncle Hendric's door. She tried to catch her breath and straighten herself up a little, but Inky was barking wildly and scribbling his claws against the other side of the door, so Uncle Hendrick opened it before she even knocked. That was the next bad thing. What are you doing here? He bellowed over Inky's yiping. Mother's too busy, Kit bellowed back. I'm here instead. I don't want you, said Uncle Hendrick. Go away. Inky growled as if to echo Uncle Hendrick's, then launched into another frenzy of barking. Kit didn't budge. She'd promised Mother that she would help. It would take more than Uncle Hendrick's bluster and Inky snarls to discourage her. Well, you're here, so you might as well stay, said Uncle Hendrick. Hurry up, come in. Don't stand there like a fool and let the heat out. It costs good money. Kit stepped inside. He shut the door behind her. If your family had paid more attention to how much things like heat cost, you wouldn't be in the state you're in now, he scolded. Come with me. Yes, sir, said Kit. Now that the door was shut, she realized how dark it was inside Uncle Hendrick's house. The darkness seemed old somehow and permanent, as if it had been there a long time, and always would be there. Kit followed Uncle Hendrick and Inky upstairs to Uncle Hendrick's huge room. He sat down in the most comfortable chair by the coal fire and put a blanket over his knees. Inky jumped up into the other chair by the fire. He watched Kit's every move with his sharp, unfriendly black eyes. Kit went to Uncle Hendrick to give him the nickel she hadn't used. What's that? He snapped, peering at the coin. It's the nickel you gave Mother for the streetcar, said Kit. I didn't use it. I missed the streetcar, so I don't care if you came on a winged chariot, Uncle Hendrick said impatiently, pushing her hand away. You got here on time, that's all that matters. You mean I can keep the nickel? Asked Kit. Yes, barked Uncle Hendrick, sounding a lot like Inky. Now stop gibbering. Hand me my book, not the red one, the brown one. And how am I supposed to read it? Hand me my eyeglasses too, and be quick about it. That's how it went all afternoon. Uncle Hendrick sat in his chair and ordered Kit downstairs to make him a cup of tea. Then she brought it up. He ordered her downstairs again for the milk and sugar. He wanted her to open the drapes, then close them again, to move his chair closer to the fire, then farther away. He wanted his medicine, he wanted the newspaper, he wanted a pen and ink and writing paper, then his stamp. It seemed to Kit that for an old man he was supposed to be sick, Uncle Hendrick certainly had plenty of energy to boss her around and pointing out what she was doing wrong, which was everything. She filled the teacup to full and sloshed tea onto the saucer. She wobbled the spoon when she poured the medicine into it. She pulled too hard on the cord that closed the drapes, but didn't push hard enough when moving his chair. She talked too fast and walked too slow. There was no pleasing Uncle Hendrick. Inky was just as bad. When it was time for his walk, Kit put her coat on and clipped Inky's leash onto his collar. Come, Inky, she said. Inky didn't move. He growled deep in his throat and bared his teeth at her. You'll have to carry him, said Uncle Hendrick. He doesn't like walking down the stairs. Kit hoisted the fat old dog up in her arms and carried him down the stairs and out the door. Once his feet hit the sidewalk, Inky took off. He strained on the leash, practically pulling Kit's arm out of its socket. When they got to the park, Kit bent down to show Inky the tennis ball. Look, Inky, she said. Then she threw the ball as hard as she could. Go get it, Inky, she said. But Inky just sniffed it as if to say, why would I? He lowered himself to the grass and refused to move. Kit had to fetch the ball herself and then drag Inky back to Uncle Hendrick's house and carry him upstairs. You, she hissed as she sat him down, are a horrible dog. Inky's black eyes glittered. He looked pleased with himself. He jumped into the chair and promptly went to sleep. Uncle Hendrick was asleep too. so Kit had to sit perfectly still and wait for him to wake up. She amused herself by thinking of words to describe Uncle Hendrik and Inky. They're both grouchy and grumpy, she thought. They're crabby, cranky, critical, and cross. When at last Uncle Hendrik woke up, he announced that it was time for Kit to go home. Kit put on her coat, which was now covered with Inky's black hair. Goodbye, she said to Uncle Hendrik. I'll see you tomorrow. Humph, said Uncle Hendrik. He didn't sound pleased or displeased. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 nickels. Here, he said, one for the streetcar home and one for the streetcar here tomorrow. But, Kit began to say, take them and go, ordered Uncle Hendrik. So she did. When she closed the door behind her, Kit took a deep breath. The cold, clean winter air felt wonderful on her cheeks. It cleared the stuffy, medicine-y, doggy smell of Uncle Hendrik's house out of her nose. As she walked to the streetcar, she had an idea. I'll walk home, she thought. Uncle Hendrik said it didn't care if I used the nickels for the streetcar or not. I won't use them. I'll save them and give them to Mother to help pay the electric bill. That will be my Christmas surprise for her. The thought cheered Kit, and she turned up her collar and started the long walk with determined steps. But it was awfully cold, and the walk was all uphill. By the time Kit got to her own house, she was tired and cold to the bone. She was hungry, too. It was disheartening to know she had missed Sunday dinner, and there'd be only crackers and milk for supper. When Kit opened the front door, she was surprised to see Ruthie sitting on the bottom step in the front hall. Ruthie had a big white box in her lap. Her face was bright and eager. She looked as if she was struggling to hold a surprise inside and was about to burst. Hi, she said to Kit. I thought you'd never get here. Hi, said Kit, as she wearily hung up her coat. I don't think we can finish our scarves today, Ruthie. I have chores to do. Oh, I didn't come for that, said Ruthie. She jumped up from the stairs and thrust the big white box at Kit. Here, she said. This is for you. Ruthie was so excited she danced around Kit impatiently as Kit knelt down to open the box. Wait till you see it, she said. Now everything will be okay. Kit lifted the lid of the box. Inside she saw a bright red dress. She took it out and held it up, puzzled. But this is your dress, Ruthie, she said at last. It was, said Ruthie. It was my last year's Christmas dress. It doesn't fit me anymore. I'm getting a new one, so I'm giving this one to you. The bright red dress was so red it seemed to make Kit's hands warm just to hold it. She felt her face get warm too, but the heat came from the burning sting of embarrassment. She was humiliated, not delighted, by Ruthie's hand-me-down present. Now Ruthie thinks of me as a poor, pitiful beggar girl, she thought. Kit swallowed. Thanks, she managed to say politely. She tried very hard to smile. That's not all, Ruthie burbled. Look in the pocket. It's even better. Kit reached into the pocket of the dress and pulled out 4 tickets to the ballet. There was also an invitation on Ruthie's handwriting that said, Miss Smittens and Ruthie Smittens cordially invite Miss Kittredge and Miss Ann Kittredge to a fancy tea at Shelto's restaurant on December 26th after the ballet. See, said Ruthie, my mother bought the tickets and she'll pay for the tea. Now we can have our special day and you won't have to wear your rick-rack dress. Slowly Kit slid the invitation and the tickets back into the pocket. She folded the dress carefully and put the lid back on the box. She stood up. Thank you, Ruthie, she said stiffly, but your dress is probably too big for me, and my mother and I are going to be busy on December 26th. She handed the big white box to Ruthie. Ruthie looked at it and at Kit. What do you mean? She asked. I have a job now, said Kit, at my Uncle Hendrik's house. But you could take a day off, said Ruthie. You could. No, interrupted Kit coolly. I couldn't. It's my responsibility. Ruthie's face looked so sad that Kit softened a bit. Listen, she said. I know you're just trying to be nice and generous, Ruthie. But don't you see? I can't wear your old dress. But my mother fixed it to fit you, said Ruthie. And I thought you were embarrassed by the rick-rack dress. I thought you hated it. I do hate it, said Kit. But at least it's my own. I'd be embarrassed to wear your dress. And it's the same with the tickets and the tea. It would make my mother and me feel like sponges. Sponges? asked Ruthie. Her voice sounded strained and tight. Yes, said Kit. We'd be ashamed to let your mother pay for us. Ashamed, said Ruthie, pink in the face and mad. I think you should be ashamed of being so selfish. You're just only thinking of yourself. What about me? Did you ever stop to think that maybe you're ruining my Christmas with your stupid pride? You've got a house full of people, and I'm all alone with just my mom and father. The most fun I ever have is with you. The day you and I spend together after Christmas is the very best part of Christmas for me. I thought you liked it too. That's why my mother and I tried to fix it this year, but you're too stuck up and stubborn to accept it. We were just trying to help. I don't want your help, said Kit briskly. Oh, I know, said Ruthie. You think you're just like great old Amelia Earhart, flying all by herself without help from anybody. Now Kit was mad too. At least I'm not so babyish that I think I'm a princess like you do, she said, the words lashing as mean as snakes. You're always talking about wishes and wicked ogres and make-believe. You don't know anything that's real. Your father still has a job. You can do whatever you want. You have everything, except you don't have an idea what the world is really like. Well, now I know what you are really like, said Ruthie. Mean. Well, you're spoiled, said Kit. Oh, exclaimed Ruthie angrily. She grabbed her coat and went to the door. I don't think we can be friends any more. Good, said Kit. Goodbye, said Ruthie. Then she left, closing the door firmly behind her. Kit stared at the door for a second, then turned and ran as fast as she could up the stairs to her room. She flung herself face down on her bed. Oh, how could everything be so horrible? It wasn't fair. Her family had lost so much since Dad had lost his job. Not just money. They lost their feelings of being safe, their trust that things would work out for the best. They were probably going to lose their home. And now I've lost the most important thing of all, thought Kit. My best friend. Kit buried her face in her pillow and cried. Okay, guys, that's the end of chapter 2. And we will get to chapter 3 in the next day or so. I hope you're enjoying this story. I just wanted to share it with you all, being the holiday season. And again, I want to thank you all for all that you do. You guys are so kind to us, and you help us immensely. And I hope you're all having a good holiday. You're being kind to yourself and kind to others as always. And we will see you all on the flip side. Bye, guys. Oh, yeah, before I say that, as you know, the norms. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. And we'll see you on the flip side. Bye, all.